Hello students, in this class we will discuss about what is known as Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. It is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So we will try to understand what is this Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is all about. To understand this, let's go to the classical mechanics. What is classical mechanics? As we discussed earlier, classical mechanics is a branch of physics which deals with the motion of the objects which are large in dimension. Motion of the objects which are large in dimension. So when I say large in dimension, like a bus, car, any vehicle, or a motion of the earth, sun, moon, so and so. So classical mechanics deals with the motion of the objects which are very, very large in dimension, which we can see very easily through our naked eye. Then the question is, in case of these objects which are large in dimension, it is possible to find out both the position and the momentum of these particles accurately and simultaneously. What I mean? In case of classical mechanics, it is possible to find out the position of the particles which are large in dimension, like a scooter or a bus or a car or a earth or a moon or sun. It is possible to find out the position and the momentum of these particles accurately and simultaneously. For example, it's true in case of in our day-to-day life. For example, you take a case of a train. We know that when you go to a railway station, there will be announcement in the station. The so and so train is expected to arrive at the station at within few seconds or within few minutes. How the station master is able to announce that the train is arriving such a time, or if you take a case of an aeroplane, there will be an announcement in the airport that so and so flight will be arriving very shortly at the airport. So how they are able to give that announcement? It is because the point at which the train or the aeroplane is left, that timing is known to a person, means the position and its timing is known to the person, and then the velocity with which the train is moving. The velocity with which the train is moving is known to the person, and the distance between the two stations is also known to the station master. Means its velocity is known, starting point timing is known, the distance between the two stations are known. So by knowing the position of the train at a certain point, we can give at certain point of time or at so and so time exactly where the train is going to be. Means we can say the train is going to arrive at the station exactly at so and so time, because the starting point is known, the position of the particle is known, the speed with which it is traveling is known, the distance between the two stations is known. So we are able to say clearly at certain point of time exactly the particle is going to be here. Means what? It is possible to find out the position and the momentum of the particle accurately and simultaneously. When you take the case of an aeroplane, so when they make the announcement, on what basis they make the announcement? Because they know at what point the aeroplane has taken off from a certain airport. They know the distance between that airport and this airport, and they know the velocity with which the aeroplane will be traveling. So by knowing its position at certain interval of time, by knowing the distance between the two, and by knowing the speed with which the aeroplane will be traveling, we will be able to say what is the momentum of that aeroplane, or exactly at this point of time where the aeroplane is going to be. So we announce exactly at so and so time the aeroplane is going to land, and we see in our day-to-day life that exactly the aeroplane lands at a given announcement. Similarly, in case of a station also, exactly the train comes at the announced time. What these examples indicate? These examples clearly indicate that in case of classical mechanics, which deals with the motion of the particles which are very, very large in dimension, like these, all these type of vehicles, or even the sun, moon, earth, and so, we are able to tell accurately the position and momentum of the particle accurately and simultaneously. To take one more example, the example of the solar eclipse or the lunar eclipse, it is announced in the calendar, or it is announced in the scientific community that the solar eclipse or the lunar eclipse is going to take place exactly at so and so minute and so second, and it is going to take place for so and so time, at what time the eclipse starts, at what time the eclipse ends. Each and every moments of that eclipse are announced in advance. Whether the eclipse is taking place after 4 years or 5 years or even after 20 years, we will be knowing at what time that event will be taking place in the atmosphere in advance. How we are able to tell all these things in advance? When the eclipse is going to take place, even if it is after 10 years, we say in advance. After 10 years, this event is going to happen in the atmosphere or in the space at so and so time, and it is going to last for so and so minutes. How are we going to say all these things? It is possible because we know with what velocity that particular object is moving. The position of that particle or that object at a certain interval is known. By knowing its position at a certain interval, and by knowing the speed with which that object is moving, and by knowing the orbit in which that object is moving in the space, we are able to say exactly at what duration, which day, which time, what second the lunar eclipse or the solar eclipse or any event which happens in this space, we are able to say accurately and simultaneously. And we have seen that in our day-to-day life, exactly the lunar eclipse or the solar eclipse takes place exactly at that time. It starts exactly at the set time and it ends exactly at the set time with an accuracy of seconds. So it is possible in classical mechanics. So what is the underline? The underline is that in classical mechanics it is possible to measure both the position and the momentum of an object accurately and simultaneously. But the same thing is not possible in quantum mechanics. The same thing is not true in quantum mechanics. Why? Because the fundamental thing is that quantum mechanics deals with the motion of the objects which are very, very small in dimensions. Means it is dealing with the motion of the objects atomic level and subatomic level, like the motion of the electrons, the motion of the protons, the motion of the neutrons, the motion of the nucleus. The quantum mechanics deals with the motion of these objects which are very, very small in dimension. So in this case it is highly impossible to measure both the position and the momentum of these particles very accurately and simultaneously. Why? Because they are having very, very, very small dimensions. For example, if you take the size of an atom, what is the size of an atom? It's of the order of angstrom, 10 to the minus 10. If you take the size of a nucleus, it's of the order of 1 Fermi, 10 to the minus 15. So they are having very, very small dimensions. If you want to find out its exact position, you have to use a highly sophisticated microscope. But still it is having certain difficulties. And one more important thing is that as per the de Broglie statement, what de Broglie says that the particle in motion is always associated with a wave nature, always associated with a wave. Means if you take the motion of an electron, motion of a proton, so we know that a motion of an electron or a proton is always associated with a wave. So once you assign a wave nature for a moving particle, now if you want to find out the position of the particle in this wave group, it is highly difficult to identify where exactly the particle is. Because it is no more a particle. Now it's a wave, because we are assigning the wave nature for the particle, right? So in this wave, we can say the particle is present either here or here or here or here or here. Means in this space from here to here, which you call it as a wave group, we can only tell the probability value. What is the probability value? We can say at the maximum the particle is present between these two limits. But between these two limits, whether the particle is here or here or here or here, we cannot tell exactly, because it is not a single particle, it is no more a particle like like a bus or a car or the sun or a moon. No, it's a wave. When you say it's a wave is one which spreads in space. It spreads in space and it does not occupy any particular space. Whereas a particle occupies a particular definite place in space. Whereas a wave doesn't occupy a particular definite position in space. It is it just spreads in space. So when you say a wave is spread in space, in that wave it is very difficult to identify exactly the position of the particle. Therefore, when you deal with the quantum mechanics or when you deal with the particles like electrons, protons and neutrons, as per the de Broglie, they are always associated with the wave. And once you assign a wave nature for these particles, it is very difficult to identify the exact position, or in other words, the momentum of these particles, which are very small in dimensions, accurately and simultaneously. It is highly impossible. It is highly impossible as per the de Broglie's hypothesis. Why? The fundamental reason is that it is a wave. So at the best, I can say, looking at the amplitude of this wave group, I can say the particle, wherever the amplitude is maximum, I can say the probability of finding the particle is maximum in that interval where the amplitude of the wave group is more. Means if you take this is the wave group or a wave associated with this moving particle of like an electron or a proton or a neutron. So I can say in this wave group, this region is having the maximum amplitude. I can say at the best the maximum probability of finding the particle may be in this area. Why? Because compared to this area and this area, the amplitude of this region is more. So based upon that, we can say the probability of finding the particle will be more in this area compared to this and this. But at any point of time, we can give you the accurate values of either the position of the particle or the momentum of the particle. We can talk only in terms of probability values. So in quantum mechanics, you cannot give exact values. We can at the best give what? The probability values, the probability of the particle or the probability of finding the momentum of the particle. So what is the fundamental difference? The fundamental difference is that in classical mechanics, it is possible to measure both the position and momentum of the particles accurately and simultaneously. Whereas in case of quantum mechanics, it is highly impossible to find out both the position and momentum of these particles, which are atomic and subatomic in scale, accurately and simultaneously. So based upon these observations, based upon all these real-time observations, the scientist called Heisenberg, a German physicist, a scientist called Heisenberg, he gave a statement, he gave a principle. What is the principle? He says that if at all you make an attempt, one thing is clear, it is not possible to measure both the position and momentum of these atomic particles accurately and simultaneously. If at all you try to make an attempt by using a highly sophisticated instrument, by using the latest technology, by using whatever the methodology you are using, if at all you try to make a measurement of the position and momentum of these particles, still there is going to be certain amount of error involved in the measurement of this position and momentum of those particles. So what is that error involved in the measurement? He says that delta x into delta px is greater than or equals to h divided by 4 pi. So this is the Heisenberg's uncertainty equation. What it says? Delta x into delta px greater than or equals to h divided by 4 pi. So what this equation says? This equation says that if at all by using any sophisticated instrumentation, if you try to measure the position and momentum of these subatomic particles like electrons, protons, neutrons and so on, so it always involves a certain amount of error in it. So what is that amount of error? That error is given by delta x. What is delta x? Delta x stands for the uncertainty or the error involved in the measurement of the position. That is, if we say that we have an electron which is moving in the x direction, now I try to find out its position. We have a particle, an electron moving in the x direction, and I am trying to find out its position. So when you try to find out its position in the x direction, that measurement always involves a certain amount of error. That error or the uncertainty in the measurement of position of the particle is given by what? Delta x. Delta x corresponds to the uncertainty involved in the measurement of position of the particle in the x direction. Then, what is the delta px? Delta p stands for the uncertainty in the momentum. Delta p stands for the uncertainty in the momentum. So what this x indicates? X indicates means we are measuring the momentum in the x direction, because we are measuring the position in the x direction. The same way we are measuring the momentum in the x direction. Like when you say this is a wave group, let's say the electron is moving in this x direction. So in this x direction, we are trying to find out its position and we are trying to find out its momentum, right? So delta px gives you the error or the uncertainty involved in the measurement of the momentum. So if you take the product of these two, delta x into delta px, uncertainty in the position, uncertainty in the momentum, or the error involved in the position, error involved in the momentum, these two uncertainties will always be greater than or equals to h divided by 4 pi. Greater than or equals to h divided by 4 pi. What is h? H is a Planck's constant. 4 is a constant. Pi is a constant. So this is a constant quantity. So what this equation signifies? What this equation signifies? The equation signifies that if at all you try to make a measurement, the highly sophisticated instrumentation, if you try to measure the position and momentum of the electrons, protons, neutrons, or any of the particles which are subatomic in scale or atomic in scale, it involves an error. That error is given by delta x into delta px, and the product of these two is always going to be greater than or equals to h divided by 4 pi, but it is going to be never less than this value. Never less than this value. So from this equation we can draw some conclusions. What are the conclusions? So I said delta x is the uncertainty in the position. Let's say by some extraordinary instrumentation, I try to find out the position of the electron most accurately. I try to find out the position of the electron most accurately. Means I am trying to minimize the error in the measurement of position. Then what happens? The value of delta x decreases. Means the error in the measurement of the position decreases. Why? Because I am using a highly sophisticated, very advanced technology to measure the position most accurately. So what happened? The error in the position of the particle is reducing. So once you reduce the value of delta x, the error in the position, the value of delta px is going to increase. It is going to increase means the error involved in the measurement of the momentum is going to increase. Why? Because the right hand side is a constant. It's a constant. So what are the variables? This and this. This is like something like x into y equals to 2. If we say x into y equals to 2, if x is a 2, y has to be 1. If x is 1, y has to be 2, because this side is a constant which cannot change. What can change? Only these two parameters can change, which are variables. So if this decreases, this has to increase. If this increases, this has to decrease. In the same way, here delta x into delta px greater than or equals to h divided by 4 pi, where this right hand side is a constant which we cannot change. So any possibility of measuring the position of the particle most accurately may result in decrease in the value of delta x, but at the same time the value of delta px is going to increase, means the error involved in the momentum of the particle is going to increase automatically. Inherently, it is going to increase. On the other way, if you try to find out the value of delta px most accurately, or in other words, if you try to find out or if you try to measure the momentum of the particle most accurately by using a highly sophisticated instrumentation, again what will happen? The error involved in the measurement of momentum will decrease, because we are measuring the momentum most accurately, right? In that case, delta px is going to be small. Delta px is going to be small. Once delta px becomes small, what happens? The value of delta x is going to be large. Means the uncertainty involved in the measurement of position will increase automatically. If this decreases, this has to increase. If this increases, this has to decrease, because like I said, it is a constant. So from this equation, we clearly come to know that whatever the sophisticated instruments we are using, or whatever the methods we are using in measuring both the position and momentum of these subatomic particles, it is highly impossible to measure both the position and the momentum of these particles accurately and simultaneously. It always involves a certain amount of error. What is the error? That error is given by delta x into delta px is greater than or equals to h divided by 4 pi. Any decrease in the measurement of the error of the position, that will lead to increase in the error of the momentum. Any decrease in the error corresponding to the momentum will increase the error corresponding to the position of the particle. Why this is all happening? This is all happening because as per the de Broglie, we are assigning a wave nature for a moving particle. A particle in motion is always having a wave associated with it. So now we are making the measurements with the waves, not of the individual particles. It is no more a single particle now. It is a wave. The moment SI is a wave always spreads in space, whereas a particle always occupies a certain definite place in space. Right? Therefore, because of this wave nature, we can only find out the probability of finding the particle. We can only say the particle is here or here or here or here or here. We can never say exactly the particle is here, exactly the particle is here, or after some time the particle is going to be here. We cannot tell the momentum, we cannot tell exactly the accurate value of position. Why? Because again, when you try to find out its position, after all, what we are going to use? We are going to use a highly sophisticated microscope to view the object, right? Even when you use the highly sophisticated microscope to view the object, again the light has to go from the microscope, it has to fall on the object, the reflected light has to come back to the microscope. So means what? Again we are going to use a light of certain wavelength. So there are certain limitations. There are certain limitations even for the instruments in terms of the wavelength of light which we are going to use for measuring the position of the particle. So there are some definite fundamental limitations involved with any of the highly sophisticated instruments because of the so-called the resolving power of the instrument. Every instrument has got certain amount of resolving power. So whatever sophisticated instrument, microscope you use, it always has got certain limitations. Means we cannot find out the exact position of the particle accurately or the momentum of the particle accurately and simultaneously, because it is now a wave now, it is no more a single particle. Therefore, Heisenberg clearly says that in any measurement involved with the position and momentum of the particle, there always involves a certain amount of error in the position and a certain amount of error in the momentum. The product of these two is always going to be either greater than or equals to h divided by 4 pi. Sometimes it is also expressed as delta x into delta px greater than or equals to h cross by 2. Both are same. Why? Because what is h cross? H cross is again a one more constant given by h cross equals to h divided by 2 pi. So if you substitute the value of h cross as h divided by 2 pi, it is going to be h divided by 4 pi, the same as that of the previous equation. So we can express Heisenberg's in this form, we can express Heisenberg's equation in this form. So therefore, this became a fundamental law. This became a fundamental law in quantum mechanics because of its physical significance. What is the physical significance? The physical significance of this Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is that whatever the technology, whatever the sophisticated instruments we are using to measure the position and momentum of these particles, it is highly impossible to measure most accurately the position and the momentum. It is highly impossible. If at all we make an attempt to measure both the position and momentum of these particles, they always involve an error. That error is given by delta x into delta x greater than or equal to h divided by 4 pi, but it is never going to be less than this value. The error is going to be, it may be more than this h by 4 pi. It may be more than this h by 4 pi, or at the worst, or at the least value, it is going to be equal to h by 4 pi. Means the error is going, the minimum value of error is going to be what? Equals to h divided by 4 pi. Substitute the value of h as constant, substitute the value of pi, you get a certain amount of value. That is going to be the minimum error involved in the measurement of position and momentum of these subatomic particles with whatever sophisticated instruments you are going to use. But at any point of time, you can never get an error which is less than this value. Therefore, the Heisenberg's principle becomes one of the very fundamental principles in quantum mechanics, which tell us the limitations involved in the quantum mechanics. And it also tells us that in quantum mechanics, we can think of only the probability values. For the position and the momentum. Whereas in classical mechanics, we can give you exactly the position and the momentum values accurately and simultaneously. That doesn't mean quantum mechanics is not advanced or quantum mechanics is not perfect. No, because classical mechanics can deal only with the motion of the particles which are very, very large in dimensions, like bus, car, sun, moon, earth, so and so. But when it comes to subatomic and atomic level, the motion of an electron, motion of a proton, motion of a neutron, classical mechanics totally fails to explain the motion of all these particles. Classical mechanics cannot explain the motion of all these atomic level particles like electrons, protons and neutrons. The laws of Newton will not hold good in case of the motion of electrons, protons, neutrons and so on. So the Newtonian mechanics doesn't work out or it could not explain the motion of all these particles, subatomic particles. In that case, we have to go for quantum mechanics. Only quantum mechanics can explain the motion of these subatomic particles. So for explaining that, we are making use of the de Broglie hypothesis. With the help of the de Broglie hypothesis, Heisenberg came up with one fundamental principle, what is known as Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which gives us the error involved in the measurement of position and momentum of the subatomic particles. So we can say in general, classical mechanics is only, it's only we can say classical mechanics is only overall, not overall in the sense, classical mechanics is only an upper layer, of the mechanics. It does not give you the complete picture. The complete picture of the motion of the particles is given only by quantum mechanics, not by the classical mechanics. So we say it's only a superficial. Classical mechanics is only a superficial or the upper layer of the mechanics, which gives you an approximation. The best word is classical mechanics is an approximation of the quantum mechanics, because quantum mechanics is the one which gives real time or the motion of the. It is the one which deals with the motion of these subatomic particles. Based upon that, we have discussed the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So, in brief, I will summarize. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle clearly says that it is highly impossible to measure both the position and momentum of the subatomic particles accurately and simultaneously. If at all you make an attempt to measure the position and momentum of these particles accurately and simultaneously, it involves an error. What is the error? The error involved in the measurement is given by delta x into delta px greater than or equals to h square by 4 pi. So delta x corresponds to the error involved in the measurement of the position. Delta px corresponds to the error involved in the measurement of the momentum. So what is the significance of this? The significance is that we cannot make attempt. You cannot make attempt to measure both the position and momentum of the subatomic particles accurately and simultaneously. If at all we can think of is what? We can think of only the probability values. We can think of the probability values for this. It is highly impossible to find out most accurately the position and momentum of these particles accurately and simultaneously. That is a very, very important, the fundamental law of quantum mechanics, what is known as Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. I think we'll stop at this point. We'll discuss in the next class some other topic. Thank you. Take care.